Hi everyone and welcome to Stamp with Angela. I'm Angela Palmer and I appreciate you joining me today, whether you're joining me live or you're watching the recording later. Today I'm going to be sharing some ideas with you for using up some of those patterned paper scraps. If you're familiar with Stampin' Up, you might know them as Designer Series Paper, or DSP, is what we call them within Stampin' Up, but just basically any pattern papers that you've got that you like to use in your cards. So you can get wonderful 12 by 12 sheets or 6 by 6 sheets, which are wonderful to use on cards. And then I don't know if you're like me, but then you might have, strips left over and things, and you're thinking, what shall I do with that? Do I keep it? Do I throw it away? And I like to try and use as much as I can. So I like to use up those scraps and things. So I'm going to make a particular card or two cards with you, showing you those kind of things, and then a couple of variations with other papers as well. And perhaps you can give this a go with whatever pattern paper scraps that you've got lying around at home. All right, if you have any questions as we do the video, please comment. I will try and answer during the video. If not, I'll check it later and answer any questions. But I appreciate you taking the time to watch today. So here are a couple of cards that I have made using Designer Series paper. So I don't know if you're like me, but here is my packet of Designer Series paper, and then I've got all sorts of lots of scraps and things left over that I think, oh, how can I use that? So these are two cards that I've come up with using some of those scraps. So these ones are just a narrower 2 centimeter piece of scrap strip. These were a bit wider and they are 3 centimeters. So you can kind of, adjust it to whatever you're doing. So what we'll do today is we'll make this card first, and then we'll do this one, and I'm going to do a slight variation on this, and then I'll show you some other cards featuring the same technique but with different papers and different colors, and you'll see how it goes. Okay, so I'll pop this one back up here so you can kind of see what I'm doing. So these are paper from the annual catalogue, the Nature's Prints and things, which are really nice. And so it's got a few blues. It's got your Night and Navy as well as your Starry Sky. So Starry Sky is what I'm using as my card base. And then I'm just using a basic white piece to kind of adhere everything to. And that's just, so my cardstock is 21 centimeters by 14.85 scored at 10.5. And then this is just a little bit smaller, which is 10 centimeters by 14.3. Then I've got my 4 strips, 1, 2, 3, 4. And they are, like I said before, 2 centimeters. And then they're a bit shorter than the cards. I've got that kind of framing. So they are 13.8. So what I want to do is work out what sort of pattern I'm doing. And I've sort of alternated the darks and the lights. So I've kind of gone like this, and then a light pattern. Well, that's kind of a grey granite, kind of like that. You can, mix it up how you like. So my suggestion would be, when you're adhering it for spacing, is I'd adhere the 2 outside ones first, and then you can kind of gauge how much spacing you want to try and make them sort of even in the middle kind of thing. So we can probably break them in a little bit, just like that. And then you've got to make sure you get glue on the right side, because some of them we're using, both sides. So that's pretty straightforward. So let's do the 2 outside ones first. So I want that side. So this is what I mean about being a bit confused. All right, so let's put those down. So I like glue for this kind of thing, because then I can adjust it if I need to. I'm leaving those there at the moment so I can kind of get an idea for spacing. So let's see if I'm sort of happy with that. Yeah, that looks pretty good, height-wise, width-wise, and then I can put those 2 in the middle. So that's the back, and that's the back, and then I put them down. So it's just a great way to use up some of those scraps that you've got. And it can be in any patterns or any colours that you've got that you need to use up. All right. So that's pretty straightforward. Now, before we adhere it to our card base, we want to add our ribbon. So I've got this lovely metallic woven thread, which is in the Starry Sky colour. So it's going to be just a little bit too narrow to go around. So we're going to cut a piece that's just a little bit wider than the card. And then we get some tape to put it on the back. You could use mini glue dots or just something to hold it in place. So we want it, I might do a little bit higher than what I did on the other one. So I'm just going to put that down, and then we want to try and get it level and on the other side like so. All right, that's not quite, there we go, that looks better. So then once that's on, I can adhere it to the card base. Because we can tie our bow later, it's just tucking these bits under so they're out the way. That's important. Okay, so like I say, these are fairly quick, straightforward cards. So then we need our thank you. Now, you've probably seen me do this heaps of times before, but yeah, I just like, there's different shapes, but at the moment my favourite is this one, the Fancy Me Label Punch, because it's, you know, quite a good size for sentiments. So the sentiment I'm using today is a thank you one from the Shaded Summer. It's got a quite, you know, nice thank you, a happy birthday, and a few other sentiments as well. But this one fits nicely. Now with this punch, most things you go in the top. This one, well, it still is in the top, but it's coming down like that. And because of the extra holes, rather than waste it, I've just got a narrow strip. So I'm going to stamp my thank you in Starry Sky ink. I do need a little bit of gap either side. Now I've done that slightly on an angle, but that's okay because we just adjust our punch about there. And then while I've got my punch, I'm going to get another one and another piece of Starry Sky and cut that out. So you might be thinking, well, how do I put that on and have it showing? So we're just going to cut it in half. So I'll get to my cardstock scissors, not my ribbon scissors, which have got that on them. And then I'm going to adhere it top and bottom so it just shows. You could do all four sides if you really wanted to, but that's a little bit more fiddly, but quite possible. Whoops, it will move and slide for a bit. Put that on. I might just put the glue on this side this time and put the other one on. Can you see what I'm doing? Cool. Okay, I'll let that dry and we'll get our bow ready to tie on. So you can cut a piece or you can kind of just still attach to my reel and figure out how much I kind of need. Then kind of cut it off. Let's sort of guess about that much, I think. Tie my bow. Always harder to do on camera. It's quite a bit hanging off, but that's all right. There we go. All right. And so I loop that around that piece and put it on. And then I need some dimensionals to put this onto my card. So I don't know if you're like me, I use all the bits around the edge, make the use of all of it. I might just put top and bottom so it's either side of the ribbon, so it kind of sticks a bit better. It's probably a bit too generous, but there we go. All right, and let's put it like so. Now I haven't, but if you wanted to, you could also add some sparkles or iridescent kind of things, or the in colour ones on here or on the card, if you wish to. All right, then for the second card, oh yeah, and also, sorry, I'd probably put a piece inside. Since we haven't used a stamp set or whatever, you could get, let's see if that fits, a strip of DSP, put that in, as well. So let's stick it on and then I'll trim it. So it kind of goes with the theme of lots of designer series paper. So put that on. Again, using up more scraps, and stick that on too. All right. There we go. Okay, so that's the first card. The second card is this one here. Let's move those out of the way. With the banner on it. And I've got quite a bit of white background, which is okay. And I kind of thought of some other ideas, so I'll go through that with you now. All right, so I need to find my 3 banner pieces, which are here. And so we've got 1, 2, 3. So I've got 2 kind of blues and then a contrasting grey granite. So what I'm going to do first of all is cut this. You could use a punch if you have one, or you could use a punch, or we're going to use scissors. So line them all up. So check if there is a right way up. If it's not, that's fine. And then I'm going to get my scissors and I'm going to cut like that, and then go from that corner like that and that corner like that. So cutting like 1, 2. All right, there we go. Now again, I'm going to use a Starry Sky Base. So I could use my white piece like I did before, and I'll have one sort of long, that might be a bit too long, one like that, and then in the middle. Doesn't matter if they go over the top because I can trim them later. Or I felt to kind of soften it a little bit, maybe if I embossed it. Now obviously I want to keep it simple to, you know, stamping paper and that kind of thing, just a little bit of ribbon. But if you do have an a cut and emboss machine, then you could texture the background, and that just kind of breaks it up. So that's what it will look like. Again, there's quite a lot of white. So then my next solution was maybe a slightly different background color. I could have for this one, I guess, used grey granite. Is it cut to size? I think this one might be slightly short. Oh no, it's okay. So you could use grey granite because the grey's on top, and that just sort of, you know, ties it in. Or you could and you can also emboss it. Now this one was actually smoky slate, so a slightly different grey. So we'll see how that looks. Otherwise I might go with the first option. So it is a different grey, but just to kind of make the background, not quite sure what I like now. What are your thoughts? Do you like the actual grey granite but without the embossing? Or do you like a slight contrast with the smoky slate? Which way should I go? Comment and we'll see what we put together. While you're commenting, I'll do another thank you ready. Same as before. And if you don't comment, then I'll have to make a decision. Now, I've realized with this one, because when I put the punch in, it's not quite going to go far enough, so I do need to just trim it a little bit. Okay, so there we go. Just trying to see if there are any comments. Can't see any at the moment. All right, and then we're going to cut another one from here. So I'll put this together now so it can sit there and glue while I put the rest of the card together. What I'd really like to do is emboss that piece and put it on the back. But the problem is, whoops, my machine is away from the camera. So I can't go do it, and I'm hooked up to a microphone as well. Okay, so that's ready to go. So I think we will try, decisions. Yeah, I want to try it with that background, with the embossed one, so we'll do that. Okay. So put them on here before you put it on here. So we're going to put glue on the back of this, Remember, it doesn't matter if it goes over the top because we can trim it. Then we want that one next. Sorry, I took it off camera to put glue on. Like so, you could have a gap or you could have them touching. I've got mine touching. And then lucky last in the middle is this one here. All right. So you could trim it with your scissors, or to get a nice straight edge, I'm just gonna, oops, glue lid there, trim it with my trimmer so I get a nice crisp cut, hopefully. Beautiful. Okay. If it's a little bit wispy, just wipe it with your finger or dab. Ideally you want to emboss and then cut because it is harder to cut through the bumpy fibres. Okay, so we're going to put that down and then we'll add our sentiment. Might need a little bit of glue in that corner. There we go. So you can kind of see the difference. Not quite as stark sort of as that white, just a slightly softer look. And then we're going to put our sentiment on as well. So to do that, I just put a bit of tape on the back to hold our ribbon in place. The problem with this is finding the end. There we go. And get some of this. And stick it to the back, and then we'll use dimensionals again. Again, we can use some embellishments if we wish. I'll see if I can maybe grab some for. So we're going to kind of put that on the back. Whoops. Sort of want it angled from, rather than top to bottom, I sort of want it slightly more on the side, kind of like that sort of thing. There we go. Not quite. I think the loops, sorry, all fiddly on the camera. Not too much of a loop. Anyway, you can fiddle with yours. Whoops, now it's twisting. Okay, maybe like that, and then whoops, that's gone. Yep, like that. And then we get some more dimensionals and put that either side and put it on our card. All right. Getting very economic with my dimensionals, using all around the edges. Use every little bit up. And then sort of around there. Okay, there we go. So we could add a bit of sparkle to that. Let me grab something. I quite like these iridescent ones because they pick up sort of the colour that's on the card. So maybe we'll put a little one kind of up here and then a couple down here. There we go. And maybe I'll do the same with this one and see if that helps with all the whiteness, kind of tone it down a little bit. There we go, that looks quite cool. So a bit of embellishment is nice. There you go. So how's that? So the two cards that we've made. So the first one was this. Okay, with our 2 centimetre strips of DSP. And then our second card was this. So that was my original, and this was different with a different coloured background, which I actually quite like. So I'll show you some more cards using these particular styles, and hopefully you will get to use up some of your scraps. So I'm not sure if you've seen the Christmas light papers, but these are a 6x6 and they're like this. Lovely reds and greens, gold. So the red is cherry cobbler, there's a bit of soft succulent and evening evergreen, and it's got cream rather than, well, there's a little bit of white there, and then sort of the blacks as well, but it's quite nice with the gold. And then the other sides are more not without the gold kind of thing. So that's, I love this paper. So I made a card, so Christmas themed this time, with those two styles. So there's the first one with those colours. And so I've used cream as my background. And then I use this lovely gold and cream ribbon, which is part of the suite. And then this is the card that I used using the banner one. So this is, I've gone for a different colour, the cherry cobbler in the background with my 3 banners. So it's a great way to use up your scraps and things. So these card ideas came from something I did with coffee and cards earlier in the week. Before I move on, the folder that I used in the background, I don't know how well you can see that. This one here is the painted textures. I wanted something that was kind of a bit of pattern, but not too bold, as it were. So let's have a look before I change at these different cards, and you'll see, different colors, different papers, they look quite different, but they look really effective. So I'd love to see what you create with the papers that you've got. And then I'll just show you what we did at Coffee and Cards. Now in Coffee and Cards I use note cards, so they are smaller. So this was the one we did. So because it's smaller, we just did 3 pieces. And these are the lovely Splendid Day foil papers, which I may have a go of this technique with that later and share them on my blog. And then this was the banners one as well. So the same style, but just a smaller version because it's because of the note cards. Oh, this one doesn't have a ribbon on it, but and here's a couple more just to show you with some bling as well. So there you go. So lots of inspiration, lots of ways to use up your scraps. So I hope you will have fun and give this a go. If you've got any questions about any of the products and things I've used or what I did, please comment below or message me. If you are interested in purchasing any of these products and things, then please get in contact with me as well. During October, we have a special promotion for anybody that wants to join as a demonstrator. So you join for $189 and usually you get $285 worth of free product. This time you get $333 worth of product of your choice. You choose what you want in your starter kit. So that is an amazing deal. So there's lots of great things about being a demonstrator. Whether you're just wanting to craft for yourself, enjoy it, get it at a discount, stamp with others, do classes, but you get to see product early. You get ideas and inspiration from Stampin' Up. You get to go to events if you want, get to meet with other demonstrators, and I've got a team and I support my team as well, so I can help and encourage you. So if that interests you, please get in touch with me. So thank you for your time today, and I hope you enjoy your crafting and whatever you're going to make, and I look forward to seeing you next week on Thursday. Thanks so much. Bye.